Hello everyone, I'm bicycling here along the harbor in Shimizu, Japan, and I want to start this video off with a dedication to my new friend and fellow YouTuber, Busan Kevin. Busan makes some outstanding videos about his life here in Japan, and if you're a fan of Japan and YouTube, you probably already know about Kevin. But if you're not, I strongly urge you to check out his great site. Kevin uses a very interesting technique for many of his videos in which he holds the camera in front of him as he's walking along telling his stories about Japan, and I really like that idea. So I've gone ahead and mounted the camera on my bumpy bicycle today to start this off. So a shout out to you, Busan Kevin, and see, I like this the Rainier coffee as well. Good stuff. A splendid find just now. I'm actually quite excited. Here in this tiny little beach, there was a woman here just a moment ago digging up clams. I guess she was going to take them home and boil them up. But here by this little beach where there didn't seem to be much of anything, and I decided to take a closer look, park my bike and take a closer look, I found a real treasure. Next to this, basically a rubbish heap, place where people burn trash. Next to this float, there's a rock. Now if you look at the rock, just without carefully examining it, it looks like any old rock. However, I don't think it is any old rock. The key is here at the bottom. See how it's been chipped away and carved away here, bottom? This type of rock with the carved out bottom like that is basically a marker stone. I see these all over in Japan, basically marking intersections and sometimes even at grave sites and the like. I don't know what this stone is for. There might be writing on it. I may lift it up and take a look. But the fact that it's been carved out like this indicates so that it could stand up straight. So this was actually a marker stone, or perhaps even used as a Jizo symbol. I've even heard that stones like this can be ancient phallic symbols. They're very, very old. This type of image is very, very old in Asia, common throughout Asia, not just Japan. What a very exciting item to find. I can't find any writing. Sometimes I see writing carved on these stones. Let's go ahead and lift it up and see if we can find anything on the other side. Oh, look at that. Look how flat it is over here as well. This stone has certainly been worked. And now there's just some bugs and stuff on there. Now I don't see any writing here. Now the writing is probably worn off. But I do believe indeed that this is how it would have stood. Something like this. As a marker, an important symbol here in Japan. I bet if I looked really close I could find some old writing on there. I don't see any though. Wow, what an exciting find. Let me put it back in place. I have to remember this and come back and visit it again. It's kind of sad to think that an old stone like this, a religious symbol, is basically discarded and forgotten here by a trash heap. Well, let's go on and see what else we can find here in Port City. I'm here in a graveyard overlooking the Abe River, and here at one corner of the yard I found another item very similar to the stone that I discovered. It's way over here at the very back, behind all these graves, really kind of tucked away, hidden away completely over here. There are two small grave markers here. Very, very small. I'll put my hand up to one, you can see how small they are. And as you can see, they bear a striking resemblance to the stone that we found by the beach. And although they're not shaped in the back, they do have the general shape, the similar shape, and it does have a flat back, although this is naturally flat. If we were to flip them over, which I certainly would not do, we would probably find that they are flattened on the bottom. So this is an example of a similar type of stone. Perhaps the stone that we found was indeed a grave marker. I'm not sure. Looks like this grave has been receiving some attention, although I suspect it's quite old. Someone has left some flowers and matching teacups. Perhaps family, or simply someone who was kind and thoughtful about the deceased who are remembered here. I'm in another part of the graveyard now, and I found some more interesting stones. Look at these. They're at the side of this family marker here. And kind of stashed away in the corner here are several stones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stones. Now look how similar they are to the one that we found on the beach. They have an unfinished side. Let's look at this end one. Unfinished side here, almost the same size too. Rounded at the top and flattened at the back, and then flat at the bottom. This is basically identical in shape and almost in size to the stone that we found on the beach. One significant difference is that there's no writing visible on the stone we found on the beach. Now it's possible that the writing has worn away over time, or maybe there was no writing and it was the stone itself was the marker. I've seen stones like that where there is no writing. Anyway, I'm starting to wonder now if the stone that we found was in fact a grave marker. Wow. Very, very similar, all of these. Look at this one. This one, same basic shape, a little bit larger than the others, but you can see that the writing is basically completely worn off, as all the markings are almost completely worn off. Perhaps it's older than the others, or just has received more weathering, but maybe the stone that we found is similar to that. The evidence is mounting that we might have a grave marker, in fact. Very interesting. Along this road, we've come across another group of stones that are similar to the stone that I found out in Miho. There are 3 stones here. 1, 2, 3. Now the largest of the stones actually has some writing on it. You can see right here. It's quite worn and faded, and you can see that a lot of work has been done to try and reinforce the stone. Some cords have been placed around the stone to secure it in place. It's really fallen apart over time. You can see it has a little area in the front there for where they would have probably put water offerings or other offerings, and more writing up here. It's really fallen apart over time. The second stone is right here. This is quite similar to the one that I found on the beach. You can see that it has the rounded surface on the side here, and then a flat surface here where there was once a lot of writing. Most of the writing is worn away. There's some grooves there that show where it's been worked. You can see that there's barely any trace of any writing. And then you can see that down here on the bottom there's a seam right here and a flattened bottom, just like the stone that we saw on the beach. And this also has a little offering place. And many stones have been piled here. I often see that. And there's little vessels here for holding flower or plant offerings of sakaki or something. And there's a third stone here. This looks like the plainest, simplest of the 3, standing upright. I wouldn't be surprised if we tipped it, and I won't do that, but if we tipped it, we would probably find it to be flattened on the bottom. Anyway, 3 stones very similar to the one that we found out on Miho. They have the same type of shape and workmanship that has been done on them, and they're here along this little road next to this old apartment building and a very old part of Shimizu, right here next to the vending machines. Another good example of what in Canada, to describe what that stone may be. These stones are probably not graves, but instead marker stones for this highway, this little road that was probably a very old highway in the old days. And you see there's still some traffic, including some old timers still making their way along the road.